Okay, so our focus for this week is about fractions. Now, what are fractions? Well, fractions are equal parts that make up a whole. So, if you had a shape like this, and you cut it into 4 sections, they would be 4 equal parts that make up a whole. What we're going to do today in today's lesson is to learn how we're going to divide a shape into fractions and write the fraction as a number, and learn how to write that fraction as a number. So, let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to look at how a fraction looks when it's written down. A fraction, when it's written down, should have 3 components, 3 different parts. There's the part at the top, which you call the numerator, this part here. You have a part in the middle, this line here, and you have a part in the bottom when that's called the denominator. Now the denominator down here, this denominator, that means how many parts you have altogether. So how many different pieces your object is cut into. So how many altogether goes down the bottom. And then at the top we have the numerator, and the numerator is how many parts you have. So if you cut a shape into 2 pieces, it's got 1 piece here and 2 pieces here, so you put the 2 down in the denominator section. And if I had this many, so I have 1 piece, so I've written 1 in here. So when you've written it down, that is 1 over 2, and you would say that as 1/2. And you can clearly see here that I do have 1/2. So that's a quick explanation of how it looks when it's written down. Okay, so the first thing we're going to try and do is colour in 6/8 of this shape. Now remember, when it ends in this, now when you see it in class, we usually write it like this, but I can't write that on my keyboard, so it had to look like that. So 6/8 of this shape. So how are we going to do that? First we've got to think about 6 over 8, what is the denominator? That's 8. So we've got to cut it into 8 different parts. Okay, let's start. Okay, how are we going to do this? Maybe we should cut it into half. That sounds good. And then we're going to cut it in half again. So now how many pieces we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 4 more pieces. So let's cut it again. Let's cut it up this way, like that, and up here. Whoops. I'm sorry about that line not being straight. I apologize. It should have been straight. Now let's see if we've got 8 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can clearly see now we've got this part, we've got the denominator right, and now we need to colour in 6/8. So we have to colour in 6 of them. So this should be quite easy. So let's have a look at that. Let's see. So we're going to colour in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now you can clearly see we've coloured in 6/8. There's 8 pieces altogether, and we've coloured in 6 of them. Let's try this shape. On the one on the left, we have to colour in 2 quarters. Now remember, if it ends in a 4, they're called quarters. And the other one, we have to colour in 1/2. Okay, let's start with the one on the left. We have to cut it into 4 pieces first. That's pretty easy with this circle. 1 up the middle, which is half, and then 1 over the other side. So into 4 pieces. Okay, now it's asking me to colour in 2 of these ones. Okay, let's do that. 1, 2. Okay, done. Now about the other shape on the other side. It says colour in 1/2. Okay, so we're going to cut it in half. 1, 2. There's 2 pieces all together. We've got that, and we want to colour in 1. So we go across and we colour all this in. And we've coloured in 1/2. Now can you see here that this shape here with 2 quarters and this shape here with 1/2, they make the exact same fraction. So if you're writing 2/4, you could also write it as 1/2, because they're both exactly the same thing. Now we're going to move on to what we were talking about in class, which is fractions of a group. So if you have a group of different ones and you want to share, maybe you want to share 4 oranges between people, and how do we make that a fraction? So when you find a fraction of a group, sorry, that shouldn't be there, of a group, you need to share them equally. But the first thing you need to do is share all the whole shapes, and then at the end, if there's any left over, you can divide that into fractions. So if you have a shape, let's do the first one example. This one says, divide these shapes between Matea and Marquez. Okay, what do we have to do first? We have to share all the whole stars. Can Matea over here, let's see, and Marquez over here. Okay, Yep. Can we give them a whole shape first? Well, yes, we can. Matei can have 1 star, and Marquez can have 1 star. So now we've got 1 star left in the middle that we have to cut. And how many pieces do we have to cut into? Well, we only need 1 for Mateo and 1 for Marquez. So we can split it into half. So cut it on that side. This side Mateo gets, and this side Marquez gets. Now we have to figure out how much they have altogether. Well, we can see here that Marquez has half of this shape, and he also has a whole one. So he actually has 1 whole and 1 half. So we say he has 1.5. 1.5 stars. So remember when we were writing the whole number, we have to write the whole number bigger, and then the half we write next to it like this. So when we're dividing these 3 stars between these 2 people, each of them get 1.5 each. Okay, I hope that was clear. Let's try one. Okay, divide these shapes between Sabira, Maria, and Annalise. Alright, let's make 3 columns. Maria, Annalise, and Sabira. Okay, can we share any of these as whole shapes before we start dividing? Yes, we can. 1 for Maria, 1 for... Oops, sorry, that's my fault. Oh, I can't move that one. Sorry, let's try that again. 1 for Annalise, 1 for Sabira. 1 for Maria, 1 for Annalise, and 1 for Sabira. So each of them already have 2 whole ones, and we've only got this shape here to divide. So we already know they have 2 each, 2 whole ones, and we have to divide this one into what? Into 3 pieces. How can we do that? We can't do it like this, because that would go into 4 pieces. So we have to divide into thirds. How do we do that? Let's have a think. Well, maybe we can draw 3 lines. That's a bad line. Let me rub that one out. 1 down here and 1 down here. Can you see now it's into thirds? There is 1, 2, 3 pieces. So we've divided into thirds. So let's check out what Sabira has, and we'll give her this part here. Okay, so we can clearly say how many holes does she have? She has 1, 2. So let's write down 2 holes. And how much of the last shape does she have? She has 1/3. So we're going to write down 1/3. So when we divide these shapes, squares between these 3 people, each of them get 2 and 1/3. How's that sound? Pretty easy? If you're having troubles, go back and try that question again. Alright, last question. Divide these pizzas between Orlando, Tristan, Domenico, and Trevor. Alright, what do we do first? Well, we're going to divide the whole ones first, remember? So Orlando, Tristan, Dom, and Trevor. Bad spelling, Mr. West. Alright, let's go. Orlando gets 1, Tristan gets 1. Let's move these down. Dom gets 1, and Trevor gets 1. Orlando gets 1, Tristan gets 1, Dom gets 1, Trevor gets 1. We've got 3 to go. Can that be shared? They can't be shared, can they? Because if I do this, then Orlando gets 3, Tristan gets 3, Dom gets 3, but Trevor only gets 2. So we can't do it that way. So these last 3 shapes I've got to share between these 4 people. Alright, how am I going to do this? Well, if it's got to go into 4 different people, then I can cut them, maybe I can cut them into quarters. So 1 across here, this one across here, and this one across here. And this one Orlando gets Tristan, Dom, Trevor. Orlando, Tristan, Dom, Trevor. Orlando, Tristan, Dom, Trevor. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's just look at Orlando for now. How many whole ones does Orlando have? He has 2. Now we've got to find out how many he has over here. Now, some of you would say he has 3 over here, but that doesn't really make sense because he doesn't have 3 holes, so I can't write 2 and 3. So that doesn't make sense. So we're going to have a look. Let's make another one like this. And let's write down how many he has. He has 1, 2, 3 of those. So he has 1, 2, 3. Alright. So let's have a look. How many pieces are there all together in here? There are 4. So we write 4 down the bottom. And how many does he have coloured in? He has 3. And so what does that say? That says 3/4. So if I was looking for how many Orlando had, he has 2 and 3/4. You don't say 2 holes and 3/4. You would say 2 and 3/4. I hope that's made it easier. So overall, these are the things I want you to remember. when making fractions, you need to divide them equally. If they're not divided equally, it won't make sense and people won't get the equal amount. When you're writing fractions, you put the number of pieces all together on the bottom, remember? Number of pieces all together on the bottom, and the number on top is how many pieces you have. So it might be 3/4. You wouldn't say 3/4, you would say 3/4. And the last thing to remember is when sharing objects, you share all the whole shapes first, and then you divide the rest into fractions. So if you have 3 shapes and there's only 2 people, you got to share 1 whole, 2 wholes, and then you can divide the last one after that. So share the whole numbers first. I hope that's made it easier. If you're still having problems, you can watch the video again or you can ask me in class. Hope that's helped. Bye.